Hola amigos de Cine, yo soy Luifer y los invito a ver este nuevo video. El día de hoy estaremos compartiendo con ustedes la gran entrevista que tuvimos con el director Joy Power de la película After Everything, o como es titulada en español, Después de Todo. Esta producción es original de TNT y será lanzada el próximo 16 de noviembre a las 10 p.m., obviamente por la pantalla de TNT. Así que en esta conversación encontrarán muchas de las razones de por qué no se pueden perder esta gran producción. Esta historia sigue a Elliot, un joven de 23 años que lleva una vida salvaje y desinhibida en la ciudad de Nueva York. Vive con un compañero de cuarto, quiere desarrollar la próxima gran aplicación y trabaja en una tienda de sándwich. Hasta ahí la vida normal de muchos jóvenes de su edad. Una noche, un dolor pélvico lo lleva al doctor, encontrándose con una gran sorpresa cuando después de algunos exámenes le indican que tiene un sarcoma de Ewing, un tipo de cáncer en los huesos que se manifiesta en personas jóvenes. En esos días conoce a Mia, una chica tímida e introvertida que frecuenta la tienda donde él trabaja y quien es la primera persona en enterarse de sus problemas de salud. Con una sensación de repentina urgencia, ambos jóvenes comienzan una relación de amistad que rápidamente deriva en un enamoramiento mutuo a pesar de la desconfianza y reservas de sus familiares y amigos. La energía y compromiso de Mia son un pilar fundamental para Elliot que le ayudan a enfrentar todas las decisiones de este cruel destino con valentía y madurez. Pronto deben resolver otros conflictos porque si bien han hecho frente a las complejidades de la vida, la urgencia de este amor sin límites debe pasar por etapas que se saltaron por la salud de Elliot, pero que son propias de cualquier pareja moderna. Ahora sí, no siendo más, pasemos a ver la entrevista. Hello Joy, how are you?
I'm good. I like your Saved by the Bell t-shirt.
Thank you. I didn't know you realize about this.
Yeah.
Okay, Luis, you have 10 minutes interview. I want to know when your last question is.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Well, Joy, nice to meet you. My name is Luis Vergara. I'm from Colombia, from Revista Cine. I would like to start with asking you about your inspiration to write and direct this film.
Yeah. The idea came from, I happened to have this idea sort of when I was sick one day in bed and I had a very high fever and I had just started dating the woman who's now my wife. And I said to myself, I really hope I don't die now because I like this woman a lot. So that was the initial idea. And from there, it sort of evolved into this idea of, we've seen a lot of cancer movies that have romances in them, but the idea for this movie was to sort of flip it on its head and make a romance movie that happens to have cancer, but is not the main question hanging over the movie.
Yeah, now that you were talking about this topic about cancer, how did you find this happiness or comedy in a very sad topic like is cancer?
I spoke to a few friends who had been sick in their late teenage years, early 20s, and the experience was, when we see it in TV and film, it usually is one-dimensional, right? It's only sad, but the experience is a lot richer than that. And there are a lot of awkward moments and a lot of funny moments. And we wanted to be as honest in depicting the experience as we could. And so it was really important for us to include those. And it's also, when Elliot, the character, is at his sickest, it's also sort of the most romantic part of the movie. And so we wanted there to be joy and lightness, even though he's so sick in that moment.
Fantastic. Well, I realized that you and your cast are very young. Did you find any challenge or any opportunity when you were working in the film?
The whole thing was a challenge. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make a movie. It's harder when you make your first movie. It's very hard to do it in New York City because everything is expensive. So the whole thing was a huge learning process, but it was also like one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I think that the challenge of it made me learn a lot, and I would hope, made me smarter on the other side of it, and was very rewarding because of how challenging it was.
Yeah, now that you were talking about doing the movie in New York, how was all this process? Because we can see that you used a lot of locations in New York. How complicated was this, like to move from one place to another?
It's very complicated. I would suggest if you're making your first movie, don't do it in New York. The good news is, right, you get all these beautiful locations. It gives the movie like a sort of richness and texture that you can't get in a stage. But it's also very, very complicated and expensive, and moving from locations to location is very hard. And so the cost was the challenge, and the reward was how much sort of free location, how free prettiness we got in the movie. But working with the mayor's office and doing it on a budget that is not as big as some big budget, not even close to as big as big budget movies, made it challenging.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and what would be like your takeaways from this film? And what would be the message you would like to people receive when they are watching the movie?
We didn't want to have a message so much as we wanted to just make a movie that sort of was an honest look at what two people's relationship is like in their early 20s, who get together really quickly and then ask themselves whether or not, they're actually the right people for each other. There was no message other than let's be honest about this relationship and what it looks like.
Okay, and at the beginning you were saying something that there are a lot of movies that are related with the cancer and the romance. And I mean, the general idea of this movie had been used before, but the execution was totally different. It was amazing.
Thank you.
How did you work in avoiding all these cliches from the other movies and to create this new one?
Yeah. Well, the question in all those movies is always, is the person going to live or is the person going to die? And you always find out at the very end of the movie. And if they live, it's a happy movie. And if they die, then it's a sad movie. But again, this wasn't so much, we didn't want to make a cancer movie so much as a love story that happened to have cancer. And so by moving that question up to the middle of the movie, we got to explore a lot of things that you don't usually see in these movies. And then, we're very aware of all the cliches and sort of the type of sad music that you hear in these movies, and the dark blue and gray colors that you see when someone is in the hospital. And we wanted to flip all of that on its head. And because their relationship is sort of at the core of the movie, and the relationship is at its romantic peak when he's sickest, we got to use a lot more upbeat music and make the colors of the film so much brighter to reflect where they are in their relationship.
Amazing. And well, talking now about the main characters of this movie, we can see that the connection between they two is amazing. Did you do anything special to create this connection? Or?
No, we got lucky. The actors only met a few days before we started filming, and we wrote it with the hopes that whoever we cast would really connect on screen, but we didn't know until we started filming. And then when we saw them together and they would look at each other, and I would be like, oh my God, I think this is working. That's when we knew that we got lucky. But it really was Jeremy and Micah did such an incredible job and made the relationship so believable.
And maybe which feedback did you receive from, well, first from your cast about this movie, and maybe for the audience in other part of the world?
The cast they were very, I think, happy with the experience. Again, we didn't make it for a lot of money, and so everyone participated, the cast, because they liked the story and cared about the characters, and they took a chance with me and Hannah, who had never directed a movie before, and put their faith in us, and we were very grateful for that. And I think it created an environment where everyone was really happy to participate. And the response to the movie has been, the response that I feel most proud of is people who have dealt with these kinds of serious issues early in their life that saw the movie and felt that it was an honest reflection of their experience. Because I think, again, a lot of these movies, in order to achieve the most drama, sort of take the reality out of them. And we wanted to make something that felt honest and real. And so when someone who's, dealt with something serious sees the movie and tells me that they believed it, that's sort of the highest compliment I can get.
Well, what would be in the future for you with these kind of movies?
Another movie that I wrote with the same writer, Hannah, just came out on Netflix in the United States. It's called Banana Split. I'm not sure when it's coming out in Latin America. I hope soon. So look out for that movie. It's a bit different. It's more like a teen comedy. And then I'm working on a few new TV and film projects. And now that productions are resuming again in the US, I hope that you can look out for in the not too far off future.
Thank you so much. Well, Joey, thank you so much for your time, for sharing with us all this knowledge about the movie. I appreciate your time.
Likewise.
Okay, bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Luis.
Bye. You too.
Thank you.